What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. This is my full card breakdown and prediction video for UFC Vegas 105. We have Lerone Murphy going against Josh Emmett, and we are right back in the Apex for a very solid fight night card. Looking forward to this one. Looking forward to hopefully keeping the ball rolling on a 4-event winning streak with the bets, hoping to make it 5 for UFC Vegas 105. Have a couple bets already in, ready to go. A lot of dogs sticking out. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this card. We got UFC Miami, UFC 314 coming up next week, which I'll be in attendance for. So yeah, some really good things to look forward to. And yeah, it all starts with UFC Vegas 105 coming up. Before we get into it and break it all down, if you guys could do me a couple favors. 1, like the video. 2, subscribe to the channel. And 3, leave me a comment. All 3 of those things go a very long way. If you guys want to go the extra mile, support me more, or get more of my content, check out DFSbythenumbers.com. It's where you'll find all my fighter stats, articles, best bet article, early access to bets, and much, much more. I'm also doing a big update to the Discord. I've got a couple recommendations that people wanted to see. Now my bets will be posted directly on Discord, so you don't have to log into the website and see the bets. And my bet write-ups will be also posted on the Discord as well. So check that out. And yeah, and be on the lookout. I'm actually going to be opening up the Discord to the for free next week for UFC Miami. So be on the lookout for a link to my Discord next week for UFC 314. Going to, yeah, like I said, a bunch of big updates coming to the Discord. A couple guys helped me out, so really looking forward to that. Also really looking forward to announcing the winner of last week's significant strike contest. Somebody finally did it. Somebody finally got it right on the dot. Shout out to Speed of Thought with 205 significant strikes for the guest. The correct answer was 205. Speed of Thought. You not only get $25, I'm doubling it to $50. So hit me up on Twitter or Instagram with your PayPal or Cash App, and $50 is yours. You finally did it. And by the way, no significant strike contest this week, so don't comment your strikes unless you want to do it for fun. But next week for UFC 314, I'll be bringing back the significant strike contest. Shout out to Speed of Thought. First one that's got it on the dot in a very long time. But yeah, time to break down some fights. We got UFC Vegas 105, and we're going to kick it off with the first fight of the card, and they may or may not change this bout order. They typically always do, but as of now, we have Vanessa Demopoulos going against Talita Alencar. We will start with Vanessa Demopoulos. She's 36 years old, 5'2" with a 59.5-inch reach. She is 11-6 and 3-2 in her last 5 fights. Talita Alencar, 34 years old, 5'1" with a 58.5-inch reach, 5-1-1 and 3-1-1 in her last 5 fights. So this is a pick'em fight. Alencar opened up as a -150 favorite. She's now -110. Vanessa Demopoulos opened up +130. She's currently -110. If I had to guess, I would say this fight probably stays around a pick'em all week because there are, strong cases to be made on both sides. And this is a fight that I kind of flipped back and forth on. But the more I looked into it, the more I thought about this fight, the more I end up on the Vanessa Demopoulos side. And the thing about Vanessa Demopoulos is you look at her in the UFC, and she has a pretty decent record. But at the same time, she's lost the majority of the fights she's won. I mean, she clearly lost the Emily Ducote fight. I mean, that Kanaka Murata win that she had was one of the worst decisions I've seen in some time. I also thought she clearly lost the Jinyu Fry fight, to be honest. She did convincingly beat, Silvana Gomez-Juarez with the submission and Maria Oliveira, but those are her 2 actual wins in my opinion. Everything else is really questionable. And then I'm looking at Demopoulos, and it's she has a 27% takedown defense. So in theory, Alencar should be able to get takedowns at will here. The problem with Alencar is a couple things, right? The first thing is she doesn't have the best wrestling, which maybe that doesn't matter here since Vanessa is so content to be on her back. But the cardio is a major, major issue for me for Alencar. We saw in her Contender Series fight, she attempted a bunch of takedowns. She actually had a lot of success early against Stephanie Luciano. But we saw at about the 7.5, 8-minute mark, she really started to slow down. And then in the third round, she was completely death-gassed. And we saw in their rematch, she came in with a completely different approach. The approach was, I guess, to not fight. I mean, she didn't even look like she tried in that Luciano fight, and Luciano won the fight pretty convincingly. And she even slowed down in that fight. She didn't even do anything, and she still slowed down. So it's I can definitely see Alencar taking down Demopoulos early, getting into some dominant positions. Maybe she can sub Demopoulos early, but if she doesn't, I have a lot more faith in the cardio of Demopoulos. I have a lot more faith in her in that second or third round, and I think she can actually take over and potentially break Alencar, get on top, and finish a gassed Alencar down the stretch. So, yeah, I'm going Vanessa Demopoulos here. I'm going to take her to win by third round, ground and pound TKO. Moving on, we got Loma Lookboonmee going against Istela Nunes. We got Loma Lookboonmee, 29 years old, 5'1", with a 61.5-inch reach. She is 9-3 and 4-1 in her last 5 fights. Istela Nunes, 32 years old, 5'4", with a 66-inch reach. She's 6-5 and 1-4 in her last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here. We have a couple big WMMA favorites, and Loma is the first one. She opened at -400. She's now -650. Istela Nunes opened at +330. She's now a +475 underdog. And yeah, the big narrative thing here is the fact that we have not seen Istela Nunes in a very long time. And the reason for that is she had probably one of the most gruesome injuries I've seen in the UFC. The injury with her arm against Victoria Dudakova. Do not recommend going back and watching that. It was really brutal to watch, to be honest. But yeah, she lost that fight. That was back in July of 2023. She's on a pretty big layoff here. And even prior to that, she lost her last 3 fights. This is a fight that makes no sense. Istela Nunes was supposed to fight Molly McCann, and I guess in a sense that's kind of where it starts to make sense. Maybe they were trying to get Molly McCann a win in her retirement fight, and Istela Nunes had visa issues she had to pull out, and now they're giving her to Loma. But I mean, she's on a 4-fight skid. She hasn't won a fight since 2020. Istela Nunes, and some of these fights, all of these fights. I mean, she got knocked out by Yasmin Jaregui. She got broken and lost a decision against Sam Hughes. She got submitted by Ariana Carnelosi. I mean, she's just had no success at all in the UFC. 4 fights in the UFC, 4 losses, and she's getting a 5th after not winning in 5 years. It makes no sense. But yeah, Loma's a big favorite for a reason. Istela Nunes, I actually think she has some really solid striking, some good power. But the problem with Istela Nunes is she has solid striking for the first 5 to 6 minutes of the fight, and then she just slows down. The ground game is very questionable, 50% takedown defense. And yeah, and with the layoff especially, everything's adding up to a Loma win. So I like Loma here. I like her quite a bit, which is not a hot take. She's a big favorite, but I do think she can mix in takedowns, get on top, and I think she eventually finishes Nunes in the second or third round. So I'm going to go Loma Lookboonmee to win this fight. I think she gets a second round submission. Loma's been working on that grappling. At least she's training in Vegas at Syndicate MMA, which I do like as well. We saw her submit Elise Reed. I just don't think Nunes' ground game or cardio is that great. Give me Loma Lookboonmee by second round submission. Next fight, we have Victor Henry going against Pedro Falcao. We got Henry, 37 years old, 5'7", with a 68-inch reach, 24-7, and 2-1 no contest in his last 5 fights. Pedro Falcao, 32 years old, 5'6", with a 66-inch reach. He is 16-4 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. We have Victor Henry open at -155. He's now -205. Pedro Falcao opened up +135. He is currently +175. And yeah, I actually really like this matchup for Victor Henry, and it's a shame. When I taped this fight, he's -150, and a couple days go by, he's now -205, which is weird because I see a lot of love for Pedro Falcao, people really hyping this guy up, and I mean, I think he might have some success in the UFC, but it's this is not the best matchup for him, whether or not Henry's getting up there in age, but still, I mean, I think this is a great matchup for Victor Henry. Henry has underrated BJJ in his own right. Henry has very good takedown defense, and then Henry's going to have a significant striking advantage, really good cardio. I guess maybe, Henry got submitted by Charles Jourdain in his last fight, and, Pedro Falcao is a third-degree BJJ black belt, but I kind of just think, Henry made a mistake, got caught type thing. I don't think Henry's some bum on the mat, because he's not at all. So, yeah, the way I'm kind of seeing this fight is I think Henry stuffs a lot of these takedowns. Falcao's going to shoot a lot of takedowns. I think the majority is going to get stuffed here. I think Henry's going to keep it on the feet. I think he's going to push the pace with the striking, and I think he's just going to be the much better striker here. So I like Henry. Curious to see where this line does go, because I do see some Falcao love, but the line's not budging. But yeah, give me Henry here, and I'll say he finds the finish at some point in this fight. I'll say he gets a third-round knockout here. I think he's going to have a big striking advantage. If you keep it standing, I think he can win by late finish. Give me Victor Henry by third-round knockout. Moving on, we have Daniel Frunza going against Rhys McKee. We have Frunza, 30 years old, 6'1" with a 73-inch reach. He is 9-2 and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Rhys McKee, 29 years old, 6'2" with a 78-inch reach, 13-6-1 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. We have Daniel Frunza, opened up -145. He's now -160. Rhys McKee opened up +125, currently +140. So yeah, Rhys McKee, we have another fighter in the UFC on this card that has actually lost 4 fights in the UFC. This is we have Istela Nunes that lost all 4 of her fights. We have Rhys McKee that's lost all 4 of his fights, so he's getting another opportunity. He actually got cut after the Morono fight, and they gave him another chance against Angelusa, lost that fight, and then lost to Chidi Nzechukwu. This is a fight that I want nothing to do with, absolutely nothing to do with, because I actually think Rhys McKee has some skills, but the problem with Rhys McKee is this dude's just a walking punching bag. Just very, very, very hittable. 42% striking defense. Blocks punches with his face. He's very tough, don't get me wrong, but everything that anybody throws, it's going to land. And it's going to land at a very high clip. Like Alex Morono, of all people, landed 176 significant strikes against Rhys McKee, and it's because anytime he threw something, it landed. It's like Rhys McKee's face is like a magnet. And he's and the punches just land. Like everything's landing on Rhys McKee. So on the flip side, like I am not that high on Daniel Frunza. I did pick him to win on the Contender Series. I actually picked him to win by late finish as well, but that's because Coetzee just did not like the card. I did think he'd slow down, and McKee's not really going to slow down. I kind of see this being a competitive fight, but like I said, every time Frunza throws, he's going to land on the face of Rhys McKee, and Frunza's a guy that he's not going to slow down either. Like this guy has a finish with like 1 second left in the 3rd round. So yeah, I think it'll be entertaining, but in terms of a pick, I'm going to go with Daniel Frunza to win by decision, just doing more, landing big shots, maybe hurting Rhys McKee, but I think McKee's tough enough to survive here. Give me Daniel Frunza to win this fight by decision. Not a fight I'm looking forward to, at least from a betting perspective. From a fan perspective, sure, seeing McKee get hit in the face should be fun, but from a betting perspective, want nothing to do with this one. Next, we have Dione Barbosa going against Dione Belbita. Got Barbosa, 32 years old, 5'6" with a 66.5-inch reach, 7-3 and 4-1 in her last 5 fights. Dione Belbita, 28 years old, 5'7" with a 68-inch reach, 15-9 and 2-3 in her last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds. We have Barbosa, the biggest favorite on the card, or close to it, between her and Loma. Her and Loma are both around like -600, 650. But yeah, she's -600, Belbita +450 there. And I think the reason for that is, like, if you're going to give Belbita, the worst possible matchup ever, you give her Dione Barbosa. Barbosa, she's actually pretty good. I think she has underrated striking, a lot of power. She really sits down on her punches, but she's a judo black belt. She's a BJJ black belt, and that's going to be a big problem for Dione Belbita, who's been submitted a lot. Dione Belbita has been submitted 5 times in her career. She got submitted in her debut against Luana Jojua. She takes Jojua down for no reason and gets armbarred in the 1st round. And then in her last fight, she proceeds to get armbarred from Molly McCann. And now they're giving her a BJJ black belt, judo black belt, who has really good throws, who's very physically strong. And I just see Barbosa getting this fight down to the ground at some point, and when it is, it's like the ground is lava. The ground is lava for Dione Belbita. If this fight hits the ground, like, she's in big trouble. She just doesn't have a great ground game. It's like night and day between these two in the grappling. In the striking, I actually like the striking Belbita. I think she throws a ton of volume. I like the variety of the shots she throws. It's just she's a big hole in her game, and that big hole's the ground game, and I think Barbosa is going to fill that hole. So give me Dione Barbosa to win this fight. I think it's Barbosa taking her down and either getting a rear naked choke. I think she could also go for an armbar. But yeah, give me Barbosa by 1st round submission. Next fight up, we have Daniel Santos going against dangerous Davey Grant. We got Daniel Santos, 30 years old, 5'7" with a 67-inch reach, 11-2 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Dangerous Davey Grant. He is 39 years old, 5'8" with a 69-inch reach, 14-7 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Daniel Santos opened up -205. He's now -160. Davey Grant opened up +175. He's now a +140 underdog. And I think it's a very, very good fight here. I think this fight has fight of the night written all over it. The thing about Daniel Santos is we have not seen this guy in a very long time. A 1 year and 8 month layoff. And, something I haven't done a lot in the past, which I really need to, is, factor in, some of these layoffs. Because, sometimes, fighters will have a big layoff and it won't matter. But a lot of times, fighters will have these big, giant layoffs and look like absolute crap. Like most recent examples, Marvin Vettori looked completely washed after a 2-year layoff against Roma Dolidze, and it's not like Vettori's, old. Vettori's like 31. Same thing here with Santos. How's Santos going to look being away from the cage for a year and 8 months? Like that's something significant. Whereas Davey Grant, although a lot older, he's been a lot more active. And the thing with Davey Grant is Grant at 39 years old. I feel like this is the best version of Davey Grant we've ever seen. The Davey Grant, the 37-year-old, 38-year-old, 39-year-old Davey Grant, he's a lot better than the early 30s, late 20s Davey Grant for sure. I mean, I used to think Davey Grant was an absolute bum, but ever since that the Martin Day fight back in 2020, he got that 3rd-round knockout. Ever since then, he's looked great. Had a knockout win against Jonathan Martinez, knockout win against Luis Smolka. Got that submission win against Rafael Assunção, just beat Ramon Tavares not too long ago. And then you look at his losses, and it's like he lost to Daniel Marcos, but did he? Did he lose to Daniel Marcos? He outlanded him in every single round. Like, I thought Davey Grant won that fight. And then he lost to Adrian Yanez, but did he? Did he lose to him? I don't know. It was very close. So, yeah, I think it's a very close fight here. Daniel Santos, he's super hittable, but he's tough. He's going to come forward. He's going to be fun. He's going to be exciting, but he's super hittable. The John Castaneda fight, this guy got dropped and hurt like 5 different times in the first round, and he was able to break him, and Castaneda slowed down, but I don't like how hittable Santos is. Doesn't have the best striking accuracy. I think Davey Grant has much better accuracy. I love the kicks, and Davey Grant has a very awkward style, a tough style to get a read on. So, although Davey Grant is a very old bantamweight, I think he's very live to win this fight. So, and what I think is going to be a very competitive fight. Give me the dog here and Davey Grant to get it done by decision. I think this fight does go to decision. I think both guys are going to have some moments. I could see both guys getting dropped type thing, but give me Davey Grant to win a very close, competitive, potential split decision here. Next fight, we have Luis Gurule going against Ode Osbourne. We got Gurule, 31 years old, 5'5", with a 64-inch reach, 10-0 and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Ode Osbourne, 33 years old, 5'7", with a 73-inch reach, 12-8, my bad, and then 1-4 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds. We have Gurule open up -200. He's currently -225. Ode Osbourne open up +170. He's currently +190. And I'm struggling with this fight because I really wanted to pick Ode Osbourne. Like, this is a guy that I had some hype for. I mean, this is a guy that I think has some solid skills. I think he's very quick, has solid striking, but he lacks those intangibles that are key to winning fights, especially at flyweight. Like, if you don't have durability at flyweight, there's a serious problem. And we've seen Ode Osbourne finished how many times? We've seen him finish like 4 times. 5 times. This guy's been finished 5 times in the flyweight division. That's not good. Ode Osbourne, after the first round's over, he slows down. That's not good. Cardio and durability, those things matter a ton to me. And Ode doesn't have those things. I think the skills are there. He has really good BJJ off his back, tons of submissions off his back. But it's just at this level, he's able to actually, look bad in the ground game. We saw Jafal Filio take him down and sub him. We saw Asam Abayev take him down and sub him. We saw Brian Kelleher sub. So maybe his jiu-jitsu's not good, to be honest. But, geez. So I think I gotta go Gurule here, but I'm just not impressed with Gurule. Gurule is one of these just meat and potatoes guy. He does train with really good fighters. I believe he's training or has trained at Factory X. So really good training partners throughout the duration of his career. And yeah, like I said, meat and potatoes, solid striker, good takes on defense, good get-up game, really good cardio, solid durability. And you got to think the more this fight goes on, the more it does favor Luis Gurule. I think Ode can potentially have success in the first round, but if this fight reaches the second, which it probably does, I think Gurule starts to really take over. So I hate the line on Gurule, but I'm going to pick him to win this fight by decision. I think Osbourne by first round finish could potentially be live. So I might look at that, maybe, but I just can't trust Ode outside of 5 minutes, and that's a problem for me. So I'm going to take Luis Gurule to win this fight, winning this fight by decision. Next fight we have, which should be a very fun one. We have Torrez Finney going against Robert Valentin. We got Torrez Finney, 26 years old, 5'8", with a 75.5-inch reach, 10-0 and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Robert Valentin, 30 years old, 6'2", with a 77-inch reach, 10-4, and 3-1 and 1 no contest in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds. Torrez Finney opened up minus 300. He is currently minus 240. Robert Valentin opened up plus 250. He's currently a plus 205 underdog. And yeah, I mean, it feels like a good spot for Finney. You know, the big thing people will say about Finney is like this guy, I believe, set a record. I can't remember off the top of my head anybody else that won 3 fights on the Contender Series. I know a couple guys that have won 2 fights on the Contender Series, but 3 fights, I think he's the only guy that's done that. And I don't understand, Dana's logic in terms of making him fight 3 times, because for a couple reasons. For one, his fight against Yuri Panfarov, his first Contender Series fight, that fight was phenomenal. That fight was very fun. This guy was doing the stanky leg in the first round. Like everything that Panfarov landed was wobbling Torrez Finney. He showed toughness. He battled some adversity, and then he started to break Panfarov, started to take him down, rinse and repeat, and broke him, and eventually subbed him in that second round. I thought that was a great fight, first and foremost, a great performance, and Dana didn't sign him. And then he goes out there and fights Cam Ralston, city kickboxing guy, massive, he had a big height, big reach advantage, and I think Cam Ralston's actually pretty solid, and he goes out there and takes down Cam Ralston 10 times, controls him for 12 minutes. And Dana's like, no, we're not signing you. Like, that was impressive to me. Was that the most exciting fight? No. But was it impressive? Absolutely. Absolutely. And then he goes out there and leaves Dana no choice. I mean, goes out there and beats poor Abdullah Arami, just takes him down, beats the crap out of him. I don't think Arami landed 1 strike in that fight. And then Dana finally gives him a contract. I think Torrez Finney's very good. This guy's 5'8", at middleweight, but he's built like a fridge. This guy can bench a bus. This guy is absolutely jacked. And you'll look at Torrez Finney and his physique and be like, oh, this guy has 1 round of cardio. No, he has 15-minute cardio. I've seen him go 15 minutes, not slowed down. This guy can go out there, go the hard 15, get 10-plus takedowns, and he will not slow down. Torrez Finney, I think, is going to be a problem for a lot of people, and he's only 26 years old. Worries is the chin, I think, is very suspect. And the striking in general is very suspect. We don't see his striking a ton, but I don't think that's going to matter here because Robert Valentin can't stuff a takedown. Valentin can be taken down, and off his back, he is very opportunistic with the submission game. He will throw things up, but good luck submitting Torrez Finney. I mean, fridges don't have necks. Have you ever tried to grapple with a fridge? It's not easy. So, yeah, I think this is Torrez Finney outside of Valentin landing a bomb on the feet, but I just don't think he's going to have much opportunity to do so. I think Finney's going to take down Valentin. We've seen Valentin kind of quit in fights. We've seen him slow down. I think Finney's going to get into a very dominant position in the first or second round. I think he's going to pound him out brutally. So give me Torrez Finney to win by second round TKO. Moving on to the next fight. It is Brad Tavares going against Gerald Meerschaert. We got Brad Tavares, 37 years old, 6'1", with a 74-inch reach, 20-10 and 1-4 in his last 5 fights. Gerald Meerschaert, 37 years old, 6'1", with a 77.5-inch reach, 37-18 and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. We have Brad Tavares open at minus 250. He's minus 255. Gerald Meerschaert open up plus 210. He's currently plus 215. And yeah, this is a very good fight here. We have a veteran versus veteran type fight, right? And these odds, they don't make much sense to me. For one, Gerald Meerschaert's always the dog. He's always the dog. I mean, you look through his record, I think he's been the dog for maybe all but like two or three fights. It's ridiculous. Always the dog, and this guy has so much wins. You can never count out Gerald Meerschaert. He's one of these guys like a Paul Craig. It's like, every matchup for Paul Craig, it's a bad matchup for him. It's hard to pick a guy like Paul Craig. Same thing with Meerschaert. Most Meerschaert fights, it's a bad matchup. What is Meerschaert good at? The grappling's very good, but doesn't have the wrestling to get it there. The striking, it's not the best. The durability's not the best, but he just finds ways. He's one of those guys that just finds ways to win. Has that dog in him. Has no quit in him. Gerald Meerschaert's an absolute dog. This guy has 37 wins, almost 30 wins by submission. It's ridiculous. Brad Tavares, I think both these guys are kind of towards the end of their career. Obviously, Meerschaert has a lot more fights, but Brad Tavares, I don't like how he's been looking ever since that Dricus du Plessis fight, and he took a ton of damage in that Dricus du Plessis fight. It was a fight that probably should have been stopped on multiple occasions. It was a fight that was, the fight probably should have been stopped. He took a ton of damage in that second and third round, and it's those wars that just take a lot out of you, right? It's those wars that can completely, take years off your life, and, some people, don't look the same after, a war like that, and that's Brad Tavares. Because since that Dricus fight, he lost to Bruno Silva, which is that loss cannot age any more horribly. Bruno Silva's on a 4-fight skid, and he's going to fight Marc-Andre. He probably loses that fight against Marc-Andre Barria. Bruno Silva's shot to bits, and even admitted to not wanting to be in there and not wanting to fight. So Brad Tavares got knocked out by Bruno Silva. That's horrible. And then the Chris Weidman fight. Don't even get me started about the Chris Weidman fight. I count that as a loss. Because if you can't finish 43-year-old Chris Weidman coming off of a 4-year layoff, something's seriously wrong. And that fight was competitive at moments. Chris Weidman was having competitive moments in that fight. So, and then he loses to Rodriguez, no shame in that. Loses to Jung Young Park, no shame in that. But it's like, he just looks off. He doesn't look the same, and that's to be expected. He's taking a lot of damage. He's getting up there in age. So, yeah, I think the striking is going to be a lot more competitive than people think. Gerald Meerschaert's striking has always been underrated, but it's getting a lot better. He's training at Valley Flow Striking. And then, of course, you have the grappling. Brad Tavares' takedown defense is very good, but he has been taken down 4 times in his last 2 fights. And if Meerschaert gets 1 takedown, that could be the round or the fight. So I expect this fight to be very close. I expect it to be a very close fight here, with Meerschaert having a lot of the finishing upside, Meerschaert having all the grappling upside. So, and he's a big dog, and picking Meerschaert as a dog has done people very well in the past. So I'm going to take Meerschaert here. I think both these guys, again, are slowing down, but I think Meerschaert is kind of the one that just has shown me a little bit more left in the tank there. So give me Gerald Meerschaert, and I'll take him to win this fight by Gerald Meerschaert fashion, which is a second-round submission, like always. So give me Gerald Meerschaert, second-round submission. Could be third. That's what he does. It's either a second or third-round submission. Give me second-round submission, though, for Gerald, GM3, Meerschaert. Moving on. We got Kennedy Nzechukwu going against Martin Buday. We got Kennedy, 32 years old, 6'5", with an 83-inch reach, 14-5 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Martin Buday, 33 years old, 6'4", with a 77-inch reach, 14-2 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Kennedy opened up minus 250, currently minus 300. Buday opened up plus 210, currently plus 250. And yeah, this is a fight where, and I've said this before with Kennedy, it's like this is a fight he should not lose. But the thing about Kennedy is he's had some weird performances, some very weird performances, weird outcomes, and that's kind of what scares me here, because I don't think there's any way he should lose to Martin Buday, and we'll talk about why I think that. But Kennedy, lost to 50-year-old OSP in 2024 as like a minus 650 favorite. That still makes no sense to me. So it's hard to trust Kennedy. But how the hell do you lose to Martin Buday? Martin Buday, he just doesn't do anything. Martin Buday's game is predicated on just cage pushing. He'll push you against the cage, and that's it. That's it. So, yeah, as long as Kennedy can not get held against the cage for 15 minutes, Kennedy's going to be the much better striker, much quicker, more powerful. Buday has a brown belt but doesn't use it. Buday refuses to go for takedowns. Kennedy, the better cardio. Yeah, this is Kennedy, but the only person that can beat Kennedy in this fight, especially in a lot of fights, this fight especially, the only person that can beat Kennedy right now in this fight is himself, and he's done it. He's beat himself. So I'm going to go Kennedy, though. I'll say he, I don't know, maybe a late finish here. Maybe a late third round KO. Could be a decision. I'll say third round KO for Kennedy and Nzechukwu. This is not a fight he should be losing, but we'll see. He's Kennedy and Nzechukwu. Moving on to the next fight. It is Chang-Ho Lee going against Cortavius Are You Not Entertained Romeus. We got Chang-Ho Lee, 30 years old, 5'8", with a 69-inch reach, 10-1, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Cortavius Are You Not Entertained Romeus. He is 31 years old, 5'4", with a 68-inch reach, 9-3, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Chang-Ho Lee opened at -250, currently -140. As far as Cortavius Are You Not Entertained Romeus opened up +210, currently +120. And let me double check something here. So, yeah, okay, that's what I thought. So, yeah, battle of the nicknames, right? So, Cortavius Are You Not Entertained Romeo? Are you not? I like the nickname, right? Because, and it fits, because I've really been entertained with pretty much all Cortavius's fights. You know, win or lose, he's going to go out there, he's going to be in fun fights. Chang-Ho Lee has a self-proclaimed nickname. I don't think it's official, but it's self-proclaimed. He calls himself this. He calls himself the Korean Khabib Nurmagomedov. The Korean Khabib Nurmagomedov. He calls himself that. And I think that's hilarious. I think it's hilarious because this guy got out-grappled by Long Zhao in his the Road to UFC finale. Got out-grappled by Long Zhao. And then on top of that, like and also in the Road to UFC, this guy was like down borderline 2 rounds against this one dude. Zawapasi, my bad about that. Zawapasi. This guy was borderline like down 2 rounds, getting out, taken down, controlled by this Zawapasi dude, and then he gets a late finish. How are you about to call yourself the Korean Khabib if you're getting out grappled by some of these guys, man? It makes no sense. So he needs to knock that off. This guy is not the Korean Khabib. If anything, he's more like the Korean Dylan Butka, because that's what he is. No striking, no jiu-jitsu, good cardio, okay wrestling, and he'll push that pace for 15 minutes. This is a weird fight because it's like, I think Cortavius is better in a lot of areas. I think he has the much, much better Brazilian jiu-jitsu by far. I think he has the much, much, much better striking. I even think he could potentially be the better wrestler here, to be honest. I mean, if you're getting take down and out grappled by some of these guys, Chang-Ho Lee, I'm not sure whether he calls himself the Korean Khabib or not. I'm just not sold on Chang-Ho Lee, and quite frankly, I'm not sold on any of these Road to UFC fighters. Being a Road to UFC fighter is the worst base in MMA. I mean, how many Road to UFC fighters have we seen come into the UFC and just suck? Just absolutely suck. And this guy borderline lost to a Road to UFC fighter in Long Zhao. I mean, he borderline lost that fight. I scored it against him. So I think a lot of people are very low on Cortavius Are You Not Entertained Romeus. I don't think he's the smartest guy at all. I think he makes a lot of mistakes, but what he is, he's super dangerous. He hits hard. He's a better striker. He's a better grappler. Cardio's not the best, but I think he's very live to win this fight. I think he could win it by any method. Him submitting Chang-Ho Lee would not surprise me. Him knocking out Chang-Ho Lee would not surprise me. But how I'm kind of seeing the fight is, I think it's going to be one of those classic damage versus control type fights, right? Cortavius is going to do the better work. He's going to land the better shots, the bigger moments. He's going to attempt submissions. He's going to attempt to finish the fight. Whereas Chang-Ho Lee is going to try to hump Romeus' leg for 15 minutes. Are the crooked, corrupt judges going to score the leg humping, the control, or are the crooked, blind, corrupt judges going to score the damage? I think it's yet to be seen, but I'll go with the damage here. I think, one guy in this matchup is going to be doing damage. That's going to be Romeus. Give me Romeus to win this fight by a damage-based close decision. Next fight up, we got the co-main event. Very fun fight here. Joanderson Brito going against Pat Sabatini. We got Brito, 30 years old, 5'8", with a 72-inch reach, 17-4-1 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Pat Sabatini, 34 years old, 5'8", with a 70-inch reach, 19-5 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. We have Brito open at -400. It's currently minus 230. As far as Sabatini opened at plus 300, he's currently plus 195. So some money coming in on Pat Sabatini. And, I get it in a sense that there is a path. There is a path, for Sabatini. It is a striker versus grappler matchup, although Brito, he can grapple himself. He's a black belt, but, Brito's going to, in theory, want to keep it on the feet where he has an astronomical advantage. Pat Sabatini's going to want to get it to the ground. But for me, it's like for Sabatini to win this fight, everything's just going to have to go perfect. It's going to have to go perfect for 15 minutes. I'm not convinced he's going to submit Joanderson Brito, who has shown good submission defense against guys such as, Diego Lopez. I'm not convinced Pat Sabatini is going to take him down and choke him out, right? So I think for Sabatini to win this fight, he's going to need to get takedowns. He's going to need to get control, and he's going to need to do that for 15 minutes. Anytime this fight's on the feet, Sabatini is in big danger, quite frankly. I mean, we've seen Sabatini hurt in a lot of fights. We saw him knocked out by Diego Lopez. We saw him knocked out by Damon Jackson, of all people. We saw him dropped and almost knocked out against Jamal Emmert. So the chin of Pat Sabatini is a big worry, and it's a big worry, especially here against Joanderson Brito, who hits like an absolute truck. So, yeah, I like Brito here. I just think at some point in this fight, it could be in the first round. It could be in the second. It could be in the third. At some point, I think he's going to touch the chin of Pat Sabatini, and I think he's going to get the knockout. If Pat's winning this fight, I think it's going to be a perfect fight, a perfect 15 minutes, no mistakes, and just a ton of control. But I think at some point, Brito is going to touch the chin of Sabatini. Give me Joanderson Brito to win this fight. I'll say it's first round knockout. And finally, we have the main event. It is Lerone Murphy going against Josh Emmett. We have Lerone Murphy, 33 years old, 5'9", with a 73.5-inch reach, 15-0-1, and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Josh Emmett, 40 years old, 5'6", with a 70-inch reach, 19-4, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. We have Murphy open at minus 300. He's currently minus 330. Josh Emmett opened up plus 250, currently plus 270. And yeah, I mean, this is it should be a fun fight, good main event, but it's a fight that I just don't have a ton of interest in, at least from like a betting perspective. I think it's a pretty clear Murphy by decision. Murphy in that Edson Barbosa fight, I think Murphy looked the career best there. That was a great performance. Showed that he had 25-minute cardio. Showed that he can go out there for the full 5 rounds and look incredible doing so. I mean, he beat the brakes off of Barbosa, and now he's going against Josh Emmett, who, I'm a big Josh Emmett fan, but the dude's 40 years old at featherweight. He's taken a lot of damage, and he's on a 1 year and 3-month layoff. I'm not sure why, but yeah, I mean, Josh Emmett, we know what he's good at this point. He has a wrestling background, doesn't use it. He hits very hard, very, very hard. So yeah, Josh Emmett, if he's winning this fight, it's probably going to be by knockout, because I really would be shocked if Josh Emmett won 3 rounds of this fight. I don't think it's happening. I think if Josh Emmett's winning this fight, he's catching Lerone Murphy and probably early as well. And if not, I think Murphy's just going to do the better work, be a lot quicker, more volume, more tools on the feet, and probably winning this fight on the scorecards by decision. So I'm going to go with Murphy. I'm going to go Murphy to win this fight by decision. And give me Murphy by decision in this one. There you guys have it. Thank you so much for watching. If you guys could do me a favor, like on your way out, subscribe to the channel, leave me a comment, let me know what you guys are liking for this week. And if you guys do want to support me more, check out dfsbythenumbers.com. Have 3 bets thus far, 3 underdogs as well, a prop, and looking to add some more here. So looking to keep the ball rolling. It's been a great 2025 thus far, and looking to hope keep going here. Keep going. Have a good week this week, and then UFC Miami, UFC 314. So best of luck, everybody, for UFC Vegas 105. We'll talk to you guys soon, and see you later.